Hey, it's Roy Newgate, and we're finally back with another One Piece discussion. And it has been a long ass time since we did one of these. It's been what, like 3, 4, maybe 5 months. Yeah, I always have this nasty habit of getting in a good rhythm of making videos and then just falling off. And like my fall offs are like it's not like 1, 2, 3 week droughts, bro. I be gone for months. But I'm gonna try to work on that, and get back to making consistent videos. I think my best I was making videos at what, like 2, 3 a week at best, which isn't. I mean, that's not even just good. That's great. Like releasing that amount of videos because making content isn't easy at all. I mean, it's fun, but it's not like you just click a button and it's there. I feel like this is the best time to start making videos again. Well, maybe not the best time, but it's a good time, I'll say. For this video in particular, I wanted to talk about a topic that I covered in the past. I think last video I did on it was like maybe what is it now? 2022. I think I did a video on it in 2020. So it has been a long ass time. And I'd say my opinions have changed even as recently as today. Like an opinion, a particular, aspect of this debate that I've had for a while has kind of like, you know, um, I guess been skewered a little bit through discussions I've had throughout the day and everything. Um, but yeah, I mean that's what One Piece is. Nobody has all the right answers. We're all just trying to figure it out. All trying to pick out what Oda's thinking and you know uh, get the right idea from the plot because nothing is concrete. Almost nothing is concrete in this story. It's all just you know us taking what we perceive as evidence for particular takes and putting it all together and arriving at different ideas. But yeah, the debate in particular for this video is the Yonko versus Admiral debate. And for the last few years, I've held the belief that the emperors and the admirals they can fight one another on a relatively even playing field. Like I don't think it's anything. The perception that Marineford gave people is that if an emperor goes against an admiral, the admiral gets bodied, like um, almost fodderized. As some would put it. And I don't think that's anywhere close to the truth, especially when you take things into perspective and you look at what's influencing certain opinions on this topic. Like Marineford anime makes the admirals look a lot worse. Honestly, it makes a lot of characters look worse than they do in the manga. And I guess people, get into this notion that the anime reigns supreme or something like that, or the anime's has the better picture for what happened in Marineford and everything, which couldn't be further from the truth. A lot of things were vastly different from the manga. You take Akainu versus Whitebeard, for example, which is, I guess, the most pivotal encounter for this debate because people take that and start making takes like Whitebeard in his prime could take on all three admirals at once and possibly win. Um, you know, People take that and they act like Akainu was just a defenseless child who just, got tossed around and had the floor wiped with him and everything. You see people often say Akainu got two shot. Now, I think that's absolutely insane. Like, I'm not even going to say that's a bad take. That's just insane. Because to me, when you say someone got one shot, two shot, I take that as them being knocked unconscious, unable to get up. With Akainu's case, sure, he took two attacks and he was out of the scene. Would I say two shot? That's preposterous to me. Just outright. It's just crazy. Cause I mean, we see that he eventually got up and he was able to keep fighting. And he left that fight far less injured than Whitebeard. Whitebeard got in a few clean hits on him. Akainu was still able to fight, still able to keep going against the Whitebeard commanders. And this was a fight in which he didn't leave it when, he left with something. I'm going to say that straight up. Akainu was able to take his head clean off. And I think that's an underrated feat for several reasons. The main thing being, Akainu wasn't paying attention when Whitebeard attacked him initially. He got him from behind and attacked him with one of his strongest quake punches. And one can imagine anybody else taking that punch. Do they get up even? Like take for example, what is it? Odin was attacked from behind by Kaido, and he couldn't get up. He was out clean. And this is someone on the when it comes for people from the Emperor side of the debate, they have Odin up there with the strongest of the strongest. And I think it's kind of hypocritical when you give Odin credit despite being knocked out in one blow, which I don't think is of any consequence. It's, well, first of all, I shouldn't say knocked out in one blow since they had a full length fight before that. But the fact that he went down in that particular hit, I don't think it speaks on his actual power. I think that's only when agendas become involved. That's when people start, making the fight something that it isn't. But I think we're straying too far away from the point. The main point is Akainu not only took a quake punch to the head, but he also kept fighting. Not only that, but managed to take off Whitebeard's head. And although Whitebeard was operating on, I suppose, pure adrenaline, and he was able to keep going, this was fatal damage. He was not going to make it past the day with half of his head missing. So taking everything into account, the strongest emperor versus what many perceive to be the strongest admiral, one did fatal damage, and the other, the damage he received was substantial, but not enough to keep him down. He was able to keep fighting in the war and take on all of Whitebeard's commanders and Crocodile. And had Sengoku given him the go-ahead to fight the red-haired pirates, he would have still kept going. And of course he would have lost, but I don't think it would have been easy at all, given just how much he had left in the tank. I don't want to focus on that fight alone though, because there's so much more in the story that we could touch on to get a better understanding of where these two factions, how they compare to each other. I feel like oftentimes you find people in support of emperors being the overwhelmingly the overwhelmingly superior force, I should say. They use character interactions to paint a picture that everybody fears the emperors, but people are not as cautious of the admirals. And you take, for example, Doflamingo's interactions with Aokiji and Fujitora, and how he speaks of Kaido, and you get the impression that Doflamingo would absolutely never challenge the likes of Kaido, and that makes complete sense. Kaido is a lawless man. He's a lawless individual, a man without I want to say he's somebody who you don't want to test. But I think this is the point where we have to take personalities into account, because not all encounters with top tiers are going to go the same way. One character might be stronger than another, but that's not based on how they interact with people. That's based on their overall power. So you have to take personality and character motivations into account. Dofi had a business with Kaido, so of course Doflamingo didn't want to test Kaido's patience. Kaido's business meant the world to him. He wasn't gonna let anything ruin it. He wasn't gonna accept failure or anything like that. But then with the admirals don't have these similar motivations to Kaido. The admirals have a job to do, and they're not here just killing anything in sight that doesn't meet their expectations or doesn't do as they say. They're doing it by the book. These are not lawless individuals like Kaido is. So Doflamingo knew even if he challenged Fujitora, he wasn't going to die on the spot. He wasn't going to be, just immediately attacked and murdered. Especially considering that Doflamingo himself is a celestial dragon. And who do the admirals work for? The celestial dragons. And yeah, you may say Aokiji himself is, when he came face to face with Doflamingo, he was no longer an admiral. But I think that's where you have to look at his personality and the type of guy he is. And, he's not this deranged individual who would answer a problem with violence when he knew he could handle it without that, He knew he could freeze Doflamingo and stop him from trying to kill Smoker. So there wasn't much sense in him going any harder than he did. But yeah, I think it's really important to take character motivations and personality into account before immediately assuming one character striking fear in another, or one character striking more fear in another, isn't always based in power, but character motivations and personality. We go a little more in depth with this, like take Shanks for example. You can disrespect him all day and he won't do anything to you, but if you disrespect his friends, then he won't hold back. And then you look at Akainu, for example. It doesn't take much for him to go all out on a particular individual, especially if they're a pirate or a revolutionary. I mean, this man was even willing to kill Kobe for insubordination. Would Aokiji do that? Would Fujitora do that? Would Kizaru do that? I don't think so. I'm on the fence with Green Bull because, this man loves Akainu and he loves, his personality and everything. And he probably modeled himself after Akainu. And I think he would probably kill Kobe on the spot too. I'm not even gonna lie. But Green Bull and Akainu, although Green Bull has a lot of admiration for Akainu, they do differ in a particular area. Green Bull's respect for the celestial dragons is way higher than Akainu's. I don't think Akainu actually respects them at all. And so I think for that reason, if you put Akainu in a fight against the revolutionaries, he wouldn't have cared, what would have happened to Marijua. That's why he said don't make excuses for them, because for him, getting the job done takes priority over anything. So being in this sacred land wouldn't have deterred him from going all out. But for Fujitora and Green Bull, I think it was the opposite for them. I think what was stated in the chapter, that they were held back by being in the land of the gods. They couldn't use their full fruit abilities as a result. I think that was a very legitimate reason. And I know some people, are pushing back saying, oh, Akainu said don't make excuses for them. Akainu is just a completely different beast in terms of personality. So I don't think that applies to them. I think he just expects them to operate as he does. With all of that on the side, though, I think with these two factions, again, I think they've been portrayed as being on the same, I don't know if I want to say, I think, yeah, actually, I will say the same level of portrayal, or close enough. I think how they're always mentioned alongside each other when it comes to the obstacles that Luffy faces to become the Pirate King. That I think that's very crucial to understanding how these two factions are compared to one another. And I think one of the most crucial things is, if you look at the old era, Roger and Whitebeard were going toe to toe with Sengoku and Garp. And I know that's debated a little bit, but not as much as Yonko versus Admiral of today. Most people, I think, are of the opinion that those two Marines and Whitebeard were almost dead even, if not, no, actually, I don't want to say they were equal, because I think the pirates in that case do have the edge, but it is not anything as sizable as what people perceive to be the edge the pirates have today. But going off that alone, I think the precedence was there that if the strongest pirates of that era and the strongest Marines of that era could fight each other toe to toe, there's nothing wrong with that being the case for this era. And I don't think it's as simple as some people make it to say something like Yonko equals Admirals, or Emperor equal Admirals, or anything like that, because I think that's kind of not doing it justice. It's not doing the comparison justice, because for example, it doesn't have to be Big Mom equals Kizaru or Kaido equals Green Bull, because that's just senseless. There has to be an order. I think the main point is, and Brago has said this all the time, is that the Admirals can fight on par with the Yonko. And to me, that means that any fight between these top tiers, or among these top tiers, is either a high or extreme difficulty battle. I think there's also certain distinctions you can make in this case. Like, for example, I think Akainu, he should without a doubt be, if you're ranking the Admirals, for example, he should without a doubt be at the top of the list. I mean, this is a fleet admiral. There is absolutely no reason he should be behind any other Marine. Like, that's just absolutely senseless to even think about. And then you have other matchups, like, let's say Kizaru versus Big Mom. Personally, I have Kizaru over Big Mom, just because of the matchup. I think, I think he's the fastest man in the series. I think I'm not calling her slow, because being slow is relative. And among top tiers, compare her to the rest of the verse, she's still extremely fast, but I think she might be the slowest top tier, just on my personal perception of her. But let's talk about the latest Admiral and Yonko interaction, and that was last chapter, which was Green Bull and Shanks. And I know a lot of people are using this to downplay the Admirals, saying, oh, Shanks proved that there is not only a tier of difference, but several tiers of difference between these two factions. And I think that's just people being caught in the moment, being caught in the hype, similar to Marineford. And although most people have outgrown that, and they start to understand what happened a little more, that's not the case here, because I see people even making it seem as if Shanks would treat, in a full fight, Shanks would treat Green Bull like, for example, how Kaido treated Luffy the first time. And that is just crazy to me. This is an admiral, a naval admiral. That title doesn't get thrown around for nothing. These individuals are extremely powerful and among the top 8 to 10 strongest in this series overall. So what Shanks did is impressive, and I'm not denying that at all. It was very impressive and one of the most amazing conquerors feats in the series. That goes without question. Personally, however, I do believe Shanks would be able to do this to anyone, because I see people saying, oh, he used basic conquerors on the Admiral and did all of that. I don't think that's fair to say. I don't think that's a fair way to frame it, because we have never seen basic conquerors haki Like, leave aside Conqueror's coding. Basic Conqueror's Haki doing this to an individual, let alone a top tier. And regardless, I don't think Shanks would be able to defeat Green Bull in this way. I think he would actually have to fight him or confront him face to face. And I still think it would be a high difficulty fight. I don't think there's any chance at all that Shanks would lose. I think he has a good advantage, or a decent advantage over Green Bull. For one, we don't know if Green Bull's a conqueror. I'm not sure. I can't say one way or another. I'm not sure. I always had the opinion that all admirals are conquerors, but I'm open to the possibility that they are not, or some are not. But in any case, I think Haki transcends all. So if you're a top tier with Conqueror's Haki or Conqueror's coding, and another top tier doesn't have it, I don't think you stand any chance of losing against the one that doesn't have it. But the main point is, I think that Green Bull was more startled than anything. I think he was just caught by surprise by that attack. You know, some people make it seem as if Green Bull absolutely did not want any smoke with the red-haired pirates, and he was just absolutely scared and everything. But I think that's very unfair, because why would he take on an entire Emperor crew? Like, no one in this series can do that, or even come close. And he himself did say he would fight the crew, just not today. And you would think that means when there's a better playing field, or he's not alone. He doesn't have to take on his entire Emperor crew by himself. So I don't think anything happened in the chapter to make Admirals look bad or anything, because I don't think there's anybody in their right mind that would have said Green Bull is stronger than Shanks to begin with. Shanks was stronger off rip. Shanks demonstrated that he is stronger just as we expected. So I think in actuality, all the chapter did was demonstrate a new usage of Conqueror's Haki and the range and everything. And it definitely hyped up Shanks as well. I don't think that can be overlooked, but I do think it's overblown. I'll say that much. Overall, I feel like the Admirals are underrated for reasons that are not very legitimate to me. The Emperors, though, they don't need any defense. They're the most hyped up faction in the series, and everybody knows full well what they're capable of. I mean, we just saw two of them go all out in the raid on Onigashima. But you gotta think for a second. Have we ever seen an Admiral go all out? Have we even seen their awakenings? And take into account the fact that Law and Kid, they were getting absolutely decimated before they used their awakenings. They were getting destroyed. I would say fodderized even. They were on the ground unconscious, unable to do anything. As soon as they used their awakening though, what happened? How drastically did the battle change when they did that? So just imagine in the final war, or the upcoming saga, when an Admiral goes all out for the first time, and we see their awakenings on panel and see what they're really capable of. We assume that's what Akainu and Aokiji did in Punk Hazard, and that's why the climate has changed permanently. But we never saw the actual fight. We never saw what that entails exactly. But could you imagine, not even just them, could you imagine what a Fujitora awakening looks like? Or a Kizaru awakening? I think that would be absolutely devastating to any opponent, Yonko or Admiral. But we'll just have to wait and see what Oda has in store for us to show us just how high the ceilings of these Admirals could go. But that's it for this discussion. You know, I've pretty much gotten all my thoughts out on the Admiral versus Yonko debate. Give me your thoughts though in the comments down below, and hopefully, you know, I can get back in the rhythm again and start releasing videos at a clip of maybe 1 to 2, 2 to 3 a week. But that's it for this video, and you know, thank you for stopping by today. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more uploads like this, and hit the like button as well.